Hey everybody, welcome to the Cafe of Knowledge. As y'all see, I have all the Mardi Gras beads up here and everything, because you know this is Mardi Gras season around this part of town over here. So it's Mardi Gras season. We can't do it as big as we normally do, but it is this time of the year. So I just decided to put up a couple of beads and everything, because we really can't, do Mardi Gras, celebrate Mardi Gras and all that like we normally do. So I just decided to hang up a couple of beads. Okay, welcome everybody. Want to tell y'all thank you for joining the Cafe of Knowledge today. Please hit like and subscribe, please. Please hit subscribe, please. Like I said, I do this tutor thing every Wednesday. I tutor budgeting, inventory, finance, accounting, auditing, all of that. Every Wednesday. So, you can always tune in and go to our videos, and you will see where we do community relations with just me and Jay. And then we also have tutor videos for anyone who wants to increase their career, better their career, find a job, have different type of job fields up under their belt, so that this show here is really, hey, you saving money. We're not asking you for any money. You don't have, it's like college course, but you could do it all in a couple of months and have all of this right up under your belt, So just refer back to the other videos if you want to learn about all those things. And anyway, today we are on Chapter 13. Today we will be talking about, y'all see my little mask here, for the Mardi Gras time. My mask here, Mardi Gras. It's Mardi Gras time. But anyway, we on Chapter 13 today. And our Chapter 13 is tangible assets and intangible assets, okay? So for people who are in the corporate world, you're in the management field, or one day you might want to go into both of these fields, you would know the difference between what's the tangible assets and what is the intangible assets, okay? So now let's talk about the tangible assets, okay? So a tangible asset is typically physical assets or property owned by a company, such as equipments, the buildings, your inventory, like that, okay? Tangible assets are the main type of assets that a company uses to produce their products and services, okay? So like I said, your tangible assets is usually things like the equipment you need for that company, the buildings that maybe the company owns. Maybe it's about 3 or 4 different stores they have around. Those buildings are their tangible assets, okay? Their inventory, that means everything they have inside that they are selling as well, is their tangible assets, okay? So now, and they need all of this to either produce their products and service their products, okay? So now, then you have intangible assets, okay? And intangible assets are the assets that are your patents. It provides property rights. So that's what intangible is. Then you have your trademarks. That's intangible, okay? Then you have your franchises. That's the type of license that a franchise buys to allow them to have access to a company's brand and sell goods under that company, their name, okay? So it's the franchise. That's part of intangible assets as well, okay? Then you have, which is certain, like your logos and things like that. People have different logos for a different company. Like once you see a certain type of logo, you automatically know who that brand belongs to. Okay, that's such and such. You know, it's just certain brands because that's that company's trademark or their franchise, things like that. Okay, goodwill. Okay, it's the value above and beyond a target's company assets that another company pays to acquire them. You know, and you do have some companies out here that will buy into another company. Or if a company says before they file for bankruptcy, they'll just sell their company to someone else. And then that person buys that company either above or beyond the target company's assets. And then they'll pay for it. And then it's theirs. Okay, they acquire it. Okay, so then you have your copyrights. Okay, copyrights protect from being duplicated by non-authorized parties. Okay, all of this is intangible assets. Okay, so when you copyright something, you already know that if you copyright something, you really can't, nobody else can use that, duplicate that without getting in trouble for it because it's copyright. Okay, so that's what copyright is. It prevents people from duplicating what you do, or duplicating your logo, or duplicating your name. Okay, so that's why it's copyrighted. Okay, and that copyright is also up under intangible assets. Okay, so you have the tangible assets that involves the equipment, the buildings, the inventory, and everything. Then you have that intangible assets that really is focused on the franchise, the copyrights, the trademarks, okay, the patents, and things like that. Okay, so that's the difference between a company's tangible assets and a company's intangible assets. Okay, so and all of these things, which we will go into in a couple of more weeks, all of these things are very important, and they also go on like your balance sheet, so that you would have all this, your annual report, your balance sheet. I'll show you guys how to do all of that in a couple of weeks. But these things are also added on to your balance sheet, things that you keep up with every month, every quarter, and every year, and you can send it in for tax purposes and things like that. So that will be all of these intangibles and tangible assets also be on your balance sheet, okay, and your annual sheet as well. Okay, so now I just want to get y'all to know what is a tangible asset, what is an intangible asset. Okay, so now your tangible assets, it's normally it's a assets that you can basically kind of hold in your hand, or you can kind of feel and see. Okay, a current assets that a company owns and will use in the next 12 months. Okay, so they normally call this a current assets. Now, to get a better understanding of this, I'm not going to keep going over it. Just rewind this video, listen to it again to make sure that you know what's the difference between a tangible assets and an intangible assets. Okay, so now up under tangible assets is a thing called your current assets. Okay, and that's normally things that a company owns that they will use up in the next 12 months, like their inventory. You know, like when they bring inventory in the door and then they quickly sell it, and then you got to order some more because you sold out of it. That's current assets. Current assets is because you are going to sell it most likely within the next 12 months. Okay? And so that's what that is. Like your inventory, your accounts receivables. You know, that inventory goes with your accounts receivables. We talked about that. If you don't know about accounts receivables, you might want to refer back and go to our other videos that has titled accounts receivables, okay, and accounts payables. But anyway, that's basically what a tangible assets is. It's things like your inventory, things that your current assets that you will push out or you will sell within the next 12 months. That's a current assets, okay? Then you have a long-term assets, okay? And that's when a company know that they're going to hold on to that more beyond the 12-month period, such as your furniture, your equipment, you know, say the register that you have, you know that you're not selling that. That's for your business. You need to operate from the register. So you might hold on to that register about 2, 3, 4, 5 years until that register is no longer any good. That is a long-term asset because that's something that you have in your possession. You most likely gonna have it longer than a year. Okay, so those are long-term assets, things that you know that you're gonna use or you're gonna have that you're gonna have that item past a year, more than a year. Okay, now your current assets, remember, is things that you know you most likely won't have it for a year. You're gonna sell it or you're doing things like that with it. Okay, but your long-term assets are things that you know you're gonna have in your store for at least a year. Okay, such as, like I said, the register, you know, furniture. You know how when we talked about the last week how you have some places, retail stores or whatever, they have benches outside where you can sit down. They have chairs in a doctor's office or whatever that you can sit down until someone can see you. Those chairs or those benches that sits outside where people could wait on their other party to finish shopping and all that. Those benches are something that company most likely are going to have longer than a year until somebody tear it up or rip it off or whatever. But those are long-term assets to where they are going to be in that company for more than a year. Okay, that bench that's outside of that company where people could sit down might last that company for about 5 or 6 years before they replace that bench. Okay, but that's a long-term asset. Okay, that chair that people sit in at the doctor's office or whatever, that's a long-term asset because they most likely going to have that chair for about 5 or 6 years until it start tearing up or not looking so presentable. Then they'll replace that chair with another new chair. But those are long-term assets, okay? Okay, now, then up under these tangible assets and things like that, you have capitalized leases, okay? That's when a company takes ownership of a contract such as a building by using a lease agreement, okay? A lease agreement that the company holds will give the company the option to purchase that property at some point in the future, okay? So that's capitalized leases. So when a company leases a building and they have an option in their contract to, hey, you can buy this building if you like how your business is flowing in this building and you like the area, you know, it has in your lease that if you want to, you can purchase this building and buy this building and it can be yours. That's a capitalized leases. Those are capitalized lease. You have some businesses that do that. You have some businesses that just strictly rent out buildings or rent out spaces for their business. But then you have some business that has in their lease contract that, hey, if you like this area, we'll give you about 2-3 years to operate out of here. And if you like it, you have the option to buy this building, buy this spot. Okay, that's what you call a capitalized leases. Okay, now you got leasehold improvement, a thing called leasehold improvement. Companies track improvements to property they lease and don't own. Okay, these items are depreciated because the improvements will most likely lose value as age. A person can also find these on a balance sheet. And this, like I said, these tangible assets and all that going to go on a balance sheet, which I will discuss and show you all about a balance sheet talk. We will discuss a balance sheet in a couple of more weeks, okay? But a leasehold improvement, like I said, is when a company tracks improvement to property they lease and don't own. Okay, so any type of improvements that you do in that building that you're renting out or whatever, you track that down and write that down if you had to do some improvement, because some leases have it to where the owners are not liable. They'll have it in there, like if anything goes wrong or anything like that, you have to fix it, not us. And then you got some leases that if anything go wrong, that the owner will fix it. It just depends. But if you have to do it, then you document it down. That's what they call a leasehold improvements, okay? Now you have the machinery and the equipment. Machinery and equipment is the company's tracks. And they summarize and they record all machineries and equipments used in their facility by their employees. So say you're working at a plant, these companies, they have a list of every machine that they use. I don't care if it's a forklift. I don't care if it's a crane. I don't care if it's a rope. I don't care what the machine that you use to operate or make your company product. Your company has a list of all the machines, how many machines, the equipment they have, all these things they have a list of, which also will be put onto your balance sheet as well. Okay, and we will discuss the balance sheet in a couple of more weeks. But anyway, that machinery and equipment is when a company tracks and keep up with, and they'll summarize in a record how many machines they have, how many equipment things they have. They put all this down so they know what they have in assets, and they need all this because at the end of the year, they need that for tax purpose. To how much do you own? How much do you have in assets? How much did you sell in your products? How much did the store make in sales that year? How much assets do you own in that company? So the machines and equipment and all that goes in that, okay? Because that's considered an asset, because those machines and those equipment are owned by that company, okay? So that's what the machinery and equipment is. It's a summary that corporate keeps up with. The accounting keeps up with, all those things. They keep up with this stuff every month, and at the end of the year, they know what they have, what they don't have, what something might have broken. Maybe they said, oh, this machine can't be fixed no more, so y'all have to buy a new one. Okay, they'll put that. They got rid of a machine that probably cost $2,000. But they had to replace that machine with one that cost $5,000, a newer machine. But it's all still assets and property. Okay, so they keep up with that like that. And that's all a part of having a tangible assets. Okay, and they have to keep track of all this. Okay, then you have furnitures and fixtures. Okay. Most retail outlets will have a separate line for furniture and fixtures on their financial sheet, okay? So you have, like I said, we're gonna go over that in a couple of more weeks. You have a balance sheet, you have a financial sheet, and then you have an annual report. Okay, you have all that, and companies have to keep track of all this. Okay, and even if you are a small company, or you're a small business, or you're a business owner, it's good to still have these things in place, because this helps you know where your company stand, or where your business stand, how much assets your business have, what all you are doing inside your company. And you'll know if your company is growing or your company is declining. Okay? And it's good to just still have a record of all these things, so you will always know what's going on. That's why I tell people, because you have some business owners, some small businesses and things like that, as long as they go in there and sell some things, and they can put a little money in their bank account, they think that the business is doing good. Maybe. But you also can improve your business tremendously if you do paper trail, like I have been discussing throughout these couple of months. How to do these paper trails and how to keep up with these paper trails. Okay? So anyway, you have a thing that's called, on the tangible assets, okay, that's called furniture and fixture. And that's, like I said, most retail companies have this on a separate line for furniture and fixtures on their financial sheet, okay? And it'll be on the balance sheet as well, you know. Other companies will most likely have furniture and fixture items included in machinery and equipment assets. And what we mean by that is, you know, we were just talking about that they keep a list of their their equipment and their machinery. Well, you have furniture and fixtures go along in there too, just on a separate line, because of course you're going to probably need lights overhead so the employees can see what they're working with. You know what I'm saying? You have to have lights, you have to have furniture. In some companies that in front of the machinery, they have a stool or a chair that a person can sit down in and do their work. You know, it's some companies and plants and stuff like that people stand up all the time. But there also are companies like people that do sewing or make clothes, or they make shoes and things like that. They have a machinery in front of them, but they also have a chair that they sit in and do their production work. Okay, so that furniture and fixture is part of tangible assets, and it's part of the machinery and equipment, because the machinery and equipment that they're using to make this product, they also need fixtures like lights or maybe ceiling fans or things like that to keep everybody cool, air conditioned, things like that, and light, of course, so they can see what they're doing. So all of this is a part of tangible assets. Okay, now then you have where they use tools. You have to use tools. Like I said, all these things are that you could hold in your hand, or you could see or touch or do. And that's tools. You need tools to operate with. Okay? That's just like you go in a grocery store. You need bags. You need bags to put the people groceries in. If you work in a company or a plant, you might need a couple of knives or things like that to operate or do whatever you're doing. Or you might need a sewing machine with thread and needle and all that stuff to make the clothes or to make the shoes or things like that. So that's part of it too. The tools and the dies that you use for the product, okay? And molds. Molds are when you are custom making something. You mold it. You get it molded. It's custom made with your brand on it, or it's custom made with your logo on it. Something like that, okay? So a company that manufactures their own products will have tools, dies, molds, and all that should be on the balance sheet. So what they mean by tools, dies, and molds is like, say if a company is a brand company and they make probably shirts and shoes with their company logo name on it, and they make tops and pants with their company logo on it. They sell this with their company logo. People say, oh, I want these type of jeans because they like that brand or they like that logo or something like that. That's all. You use tools, different tools for that. You use your molds for that. You use your dye, because usually they have a certain type of color or a certain type of thing that they use for their product. Okay, so all that go in tangible assets. Okay, that's when a manufacturer makes their own things, their own logo things, like it's a certain logo purse that everybody like. Well, that company, if that company makes their own purses, then they stick their own logos on it. They stick their own brands on it. They have a certain unique logo on it. All this stuff is inside of molding, inside of dyes, because you have to dye them, and the tools it takes to make that. So all of that is assets. Your tangible assets, okay? Now, your intangible. Let's talk about that. Your intangible is like we just said. It's for your copyrights. It's for your trademarks. It's for your patents, okay? Written work, say if you wrote a book or something like that, or you wrote a poem or something, and you want it to be copyrighted where nobody else can duplicate it, okay? That's what your intangible assets are. Okay, that's what you call intangible. And when you put that on a balance sheet, when you get to the intangible assets area, then if your company, if you have something that's copyrighted, you always put that down there. Yes, we are copyrighted, and then you put the logo or whatever that is copyrighted. Okay, so that's what intangible assets is. Your trademarks, your patent. When you patent something, means that you make something a certain type of way, or your style of these shoes is a certain type of way, and nobody else can duplicate that, not without getting in trouble or not without asking for your permission. Okay, so that all comes in intangible assets. Okay. And it's goodwill. We already talked about that. You know what I'm saying? The goodwill is up under intangible assets. Okay? And so the goodwill, like we say, is when a company has bought another company. And you do see that a lot. So if your company bought another company, they need to put that on the balance sheet as well. Okay, they need to, like, if one company is saying, you know what, we ain't gonna be able to make it this year, or we done been going for about 10, 15 years and it's not looking so good, so we're gonna sell our company. And they put their company up for sale, and another company buys their company. They'll buy their company and probably run the company just like it's always been doing. It's just somebody else now. Another company owns it. Okay? Or they could buy the company and just wipe whatever they did out, and then this new company that bought them will run their business out of that company and change the name to their business. Okay? So all of that is a part of intangible assets, is when that goodwill, that's what it's called, goodwill, when another company buys another company. Okay? And that's what that is. Okay? So now you know what all that is. Okay? And that's all we have for today. Okay? So now you know the difference between your tangible assets and your intangible assets. Okay? So if you still don't quite understand what tangible assets is and intangible assets is, please rewind and go back over it, because I really did explain it the way it really supposed to go. Okay, but I just wanted, that was our chapter 13, And I wanted to discuss your tangible assets and your intangible assets. So now you know about your assets, what companies, or when you running your own business, you're a small business owner or whatever. All of these things are very, very important if you want your business to be very, very successful. Okay, that's why you have all these billionaires and all these businesses that make $100 million a year and $1 billion a year, or whatever they make a year. They keep track of all these things. And I'm just showing you, if you're working for those businesses, you know how that goes. If you're running your own business, you know how that goes. If you're not yet into management or in the corporate office, or you don't have your own business or anything, you still know what you need to do, how you need to do it when you get ready to make these steps into management, into the corporate office, or run your own business, when you get ready to open your own business or whatever. But these things need to be in place, and you really need to know what is your assets, okay? And it's the same thing with a home. You know, if you own a home, you know, or you own different properties that maybe you rent out, you know what your tangible assets are, and you know what your intangible assets are, okay? And when you own a home, that's part of your assets, okay? That's a tangible assets, okay? And if you have a store or a bookstore or something like that, or you wrote a book, you know that when you write a book and you get that book copyrighted and all that patent or however you want to do it, then you know that that book, your copyrights and all that, is an intangible assets, okay? So it's things like that that you need to know in order to grow. Put it that way. All right. So gain knowledge to prevent blockage. And we all know what that means. The more you know, the harder it is for anybody to block you from your goals and your success. I see you next week, and we'll be on chapter 14 next week. Bye-bye. Everybody have a great week.